You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. So today, continuing hashtag Justice for Bradley, now hashtag Justice for AO, and how about a hashtag Justice for All? But yeah, I know that's too much to type, but this case just is a gift that keeps on giving. It's like Santa Claus, and it's not given in a good way for the people that are hurting. It sucks. And y'all, it's no idea. I mean, I really, I'm one person. Yes, I am experienced. I've been doing this a long time, talking about working cases, and the every day, my phone rings more and more and more, and I have more people who are giving me more information on, and not all of it is Bradley and Austin. I've got information from a serial killer from the late 80s. Supposedly somebody has a recording of the guy admitting to doing it and stuff like that. Trust but verify, right? That, I mean, certainly I haven't verified that, or I'd be breaking the national news. But a lot of it I know is people trying to throw me off, and I get that. The closer I get, the hotter it gets, the more this case heats up, the more my messages feel and what have you. Now, I've got hours and hours of conversations and different shit, recordings, and people's stuff keeps sending me. And I got some secret weapons in my pocket, and you know who you are, right? And looking at things from a different angle also, or connecting the dots for me in different ways and making different things happen. But it's happening, and I'll tell you some more as this goes on. But I want to do something a little bit different today because I got so much happening. Some of the bombs I'm waiting to drop or coming through different channels and things like that. I can't explain it to you. And if you think this is going to be solved in an hour, just turn the podcast off. All right. But it's going to be solved. And we are leaps and bounds ahead of where everybody's been up until this point. But today I wanted to do something I hadn't done in a while. I want to talk with y'all with Morgan Baggett. Now, I'm recording this on camera, but she's not on camera like y'all used to see us on the split screen. But let me call her and get her on the phone because there's some things I want to talk about. Let's see.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Miss Morgan Baggett. Hey, I'm recording you. You are on Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Shocker, right?
Yeah, it's been a while though.
Yeah, it has, and that's something that I want to talk about a lot of different things, and they're going to pop to my head. I know I'm going to bounce around, et cetera. But I was just explaining, one man show, tons and tons of information, so many different things from so many different angles, and I have a lot of secret weapons. Secret weapons being people that are helping me out that nobody would ever expect, et cetera. But where I'm at a point now where all these things are coming together, and there's certain things I have to wait on. Uh, hey, are you on speaker, or is it's just making some whatever noise?
Yes, sir. I do. I'm sorry. I was getting my vehicle.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Take your time. So if I could explain it, if when see people saying, "Oh, I wish he had hurry up and solve the case." First of all, Bradley's case is almost 6 years old, but I know more than I guarantee anybody at VPSO knows. Or wants to admit that they know. I know more than anybody except for the killers. How about that? But you don't rush a fine wine. These things, when it comes, like I've said before, will come correct. And no, you and I have not talked, and I do not. That's one of the things we're going to get into. But I am talking to everyone, and a lot. I was just explaining to Morgan. I know a lot of people are giving me false information, red herrings, things to make me spin my wheels and waste my time, and I get that. That's part of it. Totally accept it. I'm not pissed off about it, but there's killers out there, and they do not want this case solved, and that's a fact, and I know it, and you know it, and then you, of course, are getting. I mean, living in Vernon Parish right now has got to be some kind of exciting, because every day I get messages about, oh my God, this is happening, and these people are saying this, and what have you. Yeah, I had a call the other night from I shouldn't say that, because then they're going to hear this. The one of the people who helped me who made me aware of Courtney Coco's case, will say that. I've known her for over 30 years, and she was calling a law enforcement official in Vernon Parish for a specific need that this person's kind of famous for. And dude was like, she was like, you're not on Facebook or anything anymore. And he's like, I had to take down all my social media. And she said, why? And she said, because this podcaster guy and this lady who's the ex-wife of this guy that's been missing, or stirred up all kinds of shit. And she said, are you talking about Woody Overton? And he said, yeah, you know him? And she said, yeah, I've known him for 30 years. He was like, you know him? And she's like, yeah, but personally for over 30 years. And he solved Courtney's case and and he solved other cases. And he said, well, I hope he solves these, but I ain't saying shit. And we'll prelude with that. But this person doesn't live in, that called this law enforcement officer, doesn't even live in Vernon Parish, right? And lives a long ways away.
She didn't get the help she needed.
No, I didn't even get that far on it. I would just try. But oh God, I wish I could say all that I knew about what's going on.
You're killing me off I'm just.
Yeah.
I'm beside myself over here, because, as much as I do know, and as much as I told you, and as much as I do still find out,
Mm-hmm.
I know that people have, the avenue of Woody Overton now to call, and it's anonymous, and they know that.
Yep.
And I don't believe that it's not that they don't trust me. You're Woody Overton. That's all there is to it. And I trust you with all of my heart. And I have all the faith in the world in you.
Yeah.
And, you and I both know huge things have happened.
Yes.
And
that is correct. And like a lot of times when you'll send me stuff, I'm like, I already had that. And that's okay. And I want the people out there to keep sending and keep having that trust in me, because that's what but the more that trust grows, the more shit comes up. And I was just talking about, like, one lady says she has a serial killer from the 1980s and gave me the 3 specific cases and has the guy's voice on recording admitting to it and all that. And this went on for a couple of days and then ghost, right? And
Yeah.
of course, I know that's probably fluff to get me off the trail. And who wouldn't go look at this? You telling me you got a recording? Okay. But it's just more and more shit comes up. But back to Bradley and Austin. Oh my God, it's just unreal. And first of all, I want to say unequivocally, I do not have hatred for everyone in Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office. Okay, I know you may feel different. I don't. I believe that the probably 95% of them are straight up good people who want to serve the public and do their jobs every day. But you know what? They're under the influence of the influences they're under. And I'm going to prove that. And that's part of what's coming this week. But
I don't believe that they're all evil. I believe that a good little handful of them are evil, awful people.
Well, I believe that when I started this, that I always want to believe in the blue, and I believe in the beginning at work. I believe it was just incompetence at worst, and then it goes on and on and on and on, and you get all these people saying this and this and this, and you look at it and you can't get off of it, and then somebody else backs it up with something that you can tie back into it. Then I'm thinking, holy shit. Are we dealing with dirty people here? Are we dealing with because if you follow my career, I've dealt with dirty cops and I've put them in prison. I don't care. It's bad. But what happens though, when this light gets shown into this room and the little roach takes off running, and you start to expose things, they try to cover things up. Right? And that's where you fuck up. It's like committing a homicide. There's no such thing as a perfect homicide. No matter how careful you are, you're going to leave some kind of trace evidence, some kind of evidence somewhere. If you could plan a murder for 1,000 hours and then go in and do exactly your plan, you got a plan to a T. And if you don't make 200 mistakes when you're in the scene, and if you could think 100 of those after you left, because nothing ever goes like you plan, right? That's there. And these things are coming up. And that's why it just makes me lean one way or the other. So
they can't just go to the courthouse and pull the documents and wipe their hands and be like, "Whew, we're good now."
Yeah, well, that's something. Look, I read some Austin's stuff on the last episode, and that's all public record. But here's the thing: public record means public record. All right. And I don't want to tip my hand on the bombs and the legal cards I'm fixing to pull, but you go in and let's say you know the heat's coming and well, you know what? We can just hide this from them and they can't get it. Well, motherfucker, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the public if it's public record, right? And the public has a right to know. And if you hiding, you don't produce, you fail to produce, then you're injuring public records. And guess what? That's a crime. So, without getting any more into that, it's just bad stuff. But I believe in the people of Vernon Parish. I'm telling you, there's so many great ones. Do they have a dope problem like everywhere else? Sure they do. Do they have a bad people problem like everywhere else? Sure they do. But I just don't think it's the light's been shined. I don't think they've ever had the focus like they have now, for real. Actually, I know they don't. So, but
no,
what?
Right. You're right. There's never been, I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize how solo I was in the beginning. I know a lot of people are following in behind me, and I don't want this to sound like I have a big head about it. I don't. I'm very humble. And as I've said a million times, I'm not doing this for fame or attention. But as you were saying, they've never had to deal with anything like what's going on right now. There's never been a Morgan Baggett before now. There has never been Woody Overton in Vernon Parish. And there needed to be a really, really, really long time ago.
Yeah, but I think if there was, and because I've talked to some other family members on other cases that are there, that are just, I'm one of them. One of them is 7 years older than Bradley's case, and you talk about fucked up. And guess what? That I got the whole case file now, and so these are the kind of things we're dealing with when we're dealing with Bradley's. But I think I came from the Good Old Boy Network. Honest to God, when I started out, not meaning that they were bad, but you could really pretty much get away with what you wanted to. There were no cell phones and computers and shit back then, and the badge meant something and it carried weight. Not saying that we really did anything wrong, but sometimes justice was just us, and it's a gray area, right? And I'm not saying we broke any laws. I'm just saying the fight against good and evil. But sometimes, the good old boys just took up for the good old boys, and that. I think that the Vernon Parish is learning the hard way that shit doesn't fly anymore. So, but what I want to talk about a couple things, and I'm not putting you on the spot, and I'm not going to say. I want to talk about, before we get into the pictures of the knife and all that. I want to talk about something specific, sticking on my law enforcement standpoint. Now, something happened to you, and I'm not going to say what, and I'm not going to say where, and I'm not going to say when, but you called me.
If you want to talk about it, Woody, I will. We will.
Are you sure? I actually think you're safer to talk about it, but I was going to cover it without saying what it was.
No, I think it's an all right time. I don't want to keep. I've been thinking about it, and as much as I don't want to put it out there for certain reasons, and you and I've discussed those reasons, I've stood on a few certain things, and transparency was one of them. And I don't want to become a hypocrite.
Okay, so let me tell you why I wasn't going to push you in this direction, but let me tell you why I think it's doubly good. One, now it's a matter of public record. Okay. Two, if the people that have anything to do with the public records have anything to do with, which I don't think they do at this part, then they're laughing at you, right? Because you talk about everything else, but you're not going to talk about this, and I get that.
Yeah.
But so let's just start with the other night, y'all. The night before, I think the night before, you and I actually talked about something that was very, very important, and I was so pumped up, and I still am, and I'm still working on that, by the way. And I'll tell you about that when we're not on the speaker. But the next night, Morgan texts me, like, Morgan texts me a lot, and I don't always respond and stuff like that. But it was like something emergency. I think maybe you called, and I was like, she doesn't call me. And I called you back, or I answered it, and you were like, Woody, someone, just fired shots in my house, and and I know you told me to call the police first, but then I got the red ass with you, and old cop mode kicked in. I said, fucking hang up and call 911 right now. I said, don't call me, motherfucker. I'm 4.5 hours away from you. And then I'll let you tell what happened, but I was like, I was really upset with you. I was like my baby sister, you trying to call me, and I'm in New York City and she's in Louisiana and wants me to stop her from getting raped. There were so many different cop scenarios in my brain. Like, these people could come back right now. They can do whatever, what have you. And you, understandably, you have a way more storied history with VPSO than I do, but you didn't want to call. And I understand where you're coming from, but I'm telling you, the reason, y'all, anybody that's out there, and I'll let Morgan tell a story, then if something happens to you, don't call a non-emergency number. Don't not not call law enforcement, because if you don't make a report, it never happened. Okay, that in the law enforcement's book, that's the rule. It never happened. Secondly, I don't care where you live or where you're at, if you call 911 as soon as the shit hits the fan or sugar turns to shit, then I have made so many arrests and had other people stop vehicles and stuff. The cops just might be down your road on another call. You don't know. Or there might be a state trooper in an area that's on patrol and hears a call, and I'll let you tell it in a second. And they respond, and they're going to stop any vehicles coming out. You just don't know how. Not besides your own safety, you don't know how it could have been stopped. And I understand that you're thinking they're all bad, not that, but maybe it could have been caught up. Now I'm gonna do something that's hard for me. I'm gonna shut up. You tell me what happened.
Okay.
Don't start with the prior one. Start with this one and then talk about the other ones. Okay.
Yeah, I'll rewind. So when I called you, I was pretty frantic, and some time had passed since the shots were fired. Minutes, not like 30 minutes, but I was laying in the very back of my house, and I have glass pane windows, and it's thin glass pane French doors. And what I heard was what I thought was someone beating on the door. And so I hollered up to the front of my house to my sister, and I said, "Somebody's knocking on the door, go, who is it?" Because it was so hard and so fast. And she screamed right back at me, "Bloody murder." And she said that was gunshots. I jumped up, I grabbed both of my children and put them to safety in a safe spot. And I grabbed our weapons and I handed one to my sister, and we went from door to door and window to window with our weapons. We did not see anything or anyone. And so I told her, go stand guard in a certain position and spot in the house for a certain reason that I just don't want to discuss.
Right. You don't have to. Don't.
My home.
Right.
But and I walked out of the front of my house. I eased out. I looked around. I called my neighbor immediately, and I asked him, because this is the country, I said, and he already knows this has happened prior. And I said, "Were you shooting?" And he said, "No, I'm not shooting." And I drove back very quickly to my aunt's house, and I said, "Is my uncle home? Is he shooting?" And she said, "No, he's still at work." But I heard the gunshots. I thought it was y'all or our neighbor. And I said, "It was neither one of us. Somebody's shooting in front of our house again."
And the neighbor heard the gunshots too, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I drove down a little further to another neighbor's house, and I asked him if he was shooting, and he said no. And he said, "Oh my God, it's happening again." And I said, "Yes." And somewhere between leaving my home and heading back, I had talked to you, and you was not
I was not, and I wasn't nice, and I was very, very pissed off, especially when you told me what you were doing, and but I understand. I mean, it's fight or flight. You were in fight mode, but in the future, all you got to do is stay inside with the babies and the guns, certainly to protect your babies. Take up position inside, but meanwhile, you call 911. And the difference, y'all, between calling a non-emergency line and 911, they have to respond by law, emergency. And you call in, you say, "Shots fired at my residence." Every cop in that parish, from small towns to state police to sheriff's deputies, they are all going to converge on the scene, because that's the way it works. Right. But I understand you didn't know that, but go ahead and tell what happened and what was found and all that before you get into the cop part. But I'll call you. So you called me and I told you hang up and call
As
911.
Yeah, as I can't remember. It was all just such a flash, but I think it was as I was talking to you and pulling back up to my driveway, my mother and my sister and my neighbor were out on the highway looking around because the last time this happened, no casings were found. My neighbor found a 9 mil casing, one of them.
Yeah,
My sister and I can agree on, she says 4 to 5 shots. I say five to six
right.
shots that I heard.
Right. And in rapid
And
succession, let's talk about that for a couple seconds. From the
right after that,
true crime standpoint, that y'all found a 9 millimeter spent casing in your driveway, right?
by my mailboxes,
Right
yes.
by your mailbox. So that means it wasn't a revolver, but because then you have to pull it back when the revolver fires, the cylinder spins, and the casings do not eject out. So that means it's a semi-automatic pistol. If not, and that they have 9 millimeter piece of shit semi-automatic rifles, right? So it could have been any of that, but it was definitely a semi-automatic. So it's throwing them out. Now, why didn't you find 5 or 6 casings? I don't believe they took the time to get out and pick them up. I believe that they were probably firing from inside of a vehicle, and you can't control where those shells get ejected out. So the pin strikes the bullet, the primer makes the powder explode. The explosion not only propels the bullet down the barrel and out, but it also kicks back the action. The actual explosion kicks back the action and kicks out the spent casing. And when it comes forward, it takes the next top of the bullet off the magazine, and the gun's reloaded, ready to fire. So that's how you can go pow, 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 right? So that when you told me that and it was only one, I'm like, I'm pretty sure they must have been firing from inside of a vehicle. But
That's exactly what one of my other neighbors said. He said they've got to be doing it purposely from the inside. He said, but I don't know that I've ever said a cuss word on podcast, Woody, but
Yeah.
the world's about to hear
Go
it.
ahead.
He said they fucked up this time. He said because one must have bounced out, ricocheted or bounced,
Yeah.
and they probably don't even know that
Right.
they lost one, or they found out later and they're shitting their pants.
And it goes back to me saying there's no such thing as a perfect crime. You can plan it the best way you want to, et cetera, but you're always going to leave something behind.
So I want the whole wide world to know that VPSO has this casing.
Wait. We're going to get to that. So I tell you to go back inside and call. You do go back inside and call, but you didn't call 911. You called the regular sheriff's office line, and it's recorded. I heard it, right?
Yep.
Okay. FYI, people, every law enforcement agency has a non-emergency line, and then you have the 911 line. The non-emergency line, if you call that and you're in the shit, like Morgan was in the shit, even though I feel quite certain they were gone by this time, but you don't know that. But you call the non-emergency line, but they're like, well, okay, we'll report to deputies, and they report to the deputy there. And she did ask you, is anybody hurt? And you said no. Well, guess what? That kicks it back on the burn. If they have another shit hot call somewhere, they're going to handle that, right? But if you call 911, you say shots fired, and nobody's gone to the road and found a casing, and I'm guessing it's 10, 15 minutes gone by this time, and you checked with the neighbors and all that. Don't do that. It's the cops' job to do that. Even if you don't trust the cops, it's their job to do that. And they all got body cameras and vehicle cameras and shit now. And 9 times out of 10, the deputy that shows up is going not. Even though he may know who you are through the general terms of things, they're going to do their fucking job. First of all, they're going to approach. I would never drive straight up to your house. I'm driving past your house as fast as I can. I'm scanning an area. I'm coming back in before I get out. If it's coming in 911, because I don't know if the shooter's still in the area. The cops just got killed last week, responding to a call. 2 of them, and a canine got shot in one of the cities. A story I was covering. The guy waited on them to get there and hid in the bushes and killed him. And that happens every day. But you called the non-emergency line. Ultimately, they dispatched somebody out, and what happened?
Very quickly, in my defense about not calling 911, I know the VPSO number by heart, 238-1311, because I, unfortunately, because of my whole life
Right.
and childhood, I've had to call it a lot of times.
Right.
So,
Right.
but
Hey, what's the emergency number if there's emergency? They teach you in kindergarten.
911. My
Right.
5-year-old knows it.
Right. All right. Sorry, guy.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna fuss at you anymore about that. I just, the next time, you would have had so much a better chance of them getting caught, and if they intended to come on through and do an actual killing, it's just you have a lot of better chance if you're in a defensive position and you're watching and you're waiting, and for them to get inside of your house, you would have known where they were coming through and you could have shut that door. But anyway, VPSO deputy responds. By this time, you're recording, you're in the yard. Y'all, I'm not going to play it all for you, but I might put it up for Patreon Convex or something. But you're in the yard. They actually passed up your house, right? Or he passed up your house. And then,
they drove up my driveway, and then they drove all the way to the back of my property.
right.
So it was in his defense, it was a deputy I don't think I've ever seen before, and he said he wasn't from here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 VPSO deputies know where Morgan Baggett's house is, because of the past they've been here at least once.
Get it? And in his defense, I'm saying I would have done the same thing. I'm not going to just pull up on a shooting scene with people reporting shooting without getting a scope of the land first. If you're going to shoot me, you're going to have to shoot me driving by. But he gets out, and you have the recorder on, and you have a flying case of the red ass, and I get that.
What makes you think he wasn't worried?
What? I'm sorry?
I said it kind of makes me think he wasn't worried. He knew he didn't have nothing to worry about.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. That's inside of your head. No, I'm again. If you're out there standing, I'm going to make, and I've done it 100 times. I'm going to make a pass through the area, even if it didn't come in 911. I'm looking to see if there's anybody hiding, or if they're going to fire upon me, and it's an ambush, then they're going to have to shoot me when I'm driving by, and I'm not a steel target for them. But besides that, he gets there, introduces himself. You tell what happened, and we'll get back to it in just a second. But you tell what happened, and I already knew what he was going to say. And y'all, it was getting dark. It was getting dark, and it was right around dark time. And whenever you told me that they found the casing, I'm like, should have left it there. That's the cop's job. This is the things that I'm thinking, because even though he told y'all, you told him that they had the case, and he said where, and he wanted to go down and look at it, and his supervisor called, and I can assure you that they know if something comes in Morgan Baggett's house, the supervisor is gonna call, right, and see what's going on. But didn't come in 911. He's talking to y'all, etc. And I know these goes on and off. I'm paraphrasing, so we're gonna run out of time. But
you hear my mom say, "Keep your cool, please keep your cool."
Absolutely, and I know you had the red ass, and I get that. But they had already. Whoever already picked up the casing, and it's not totally true. But I think the cop said, well, they couldn't have got anything off of it anyway. That's not true. They could have, if it's not cross-contaminated DNA, they could have at least tested it for DNA or partial fingerprints or anything. But it's fucked up because the chain of custody, from a detective standpoint, it's already fucked because y'all picked it up. But that's neither here nor there. Next time that won't happen. But at some point, and I want to get to this point, he standard questions, he's asking all the standard questions, how many people live here, and who heard the shots, blah, 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 blah. Everything that a cop would ask. They're trained to ask.
I was very upset and irritated that he stood in my driveway and looked in my face and said, "Is there any reason anybody has any beef with you? Do you have beef with somebody?" As if he
Yes.
didn't know where he was coming. And I was very irritated.
And that's exactly what I was going to say next. And he asked you something to the fact of, do you have beef with anybody? Is there any reason somebody would be shooting at your house? And you said, I got a beef with everybody that has on that uniform and that badge. And I was like, oh, fuck. But I understand you were mad. Okay. But I also.
What else did I say? I said, did anyone who murdered Bradley Tracy or Austin
That's true. That's true. That's true. And you did. And it's a free country. And I'm sure these guys have seen worse when they responded. But as far as, y'all, yeah, well, thank God, because you probably, I don't think you would have gone to jail because you're the victim in the case, and rightfully so. You're upset. Oh, you did tell him. You said I was going next time, something to the effect. Next time I'm going to shoot off around myself, and he was like, "Well, shoot it into the ground, please, because what goes up must come down." He's not telling you don't shoot. He said you have a right to defend yourself, but shoot it into the ground because you don't. And that's true. People don't think of it, but they're just like the motherfuckers shooting at your house. They don't know where those bullets are going. When you fire that bullet, you can't ever get it back. But next time your ass ain't going outside, you can call your neighbors after you call 911. You're going to barricade yourself inside, period, and let them do their jobs. And if they don't do it, then we'll let the world know they didn't do it. Okay. But at some point he goes down to see where the casing is exactly what I would have done. I probably took a picture of it. And at some point he gives you your file number. You're like, what do I need this for? Da, 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 da. Well, you know what? Every time a deputy goes out, and they should be, unless it's like my neighbor's dog in the yard, ran through the yard and pooped, right? Even that's supposed to be written up. Every call they go on, when they go back 10-8, they say, I'm 1097, 10-8, file number in times. And that's the time they were dispatched to the call, to the time they get there, and they say 1097 on scene, and to the time they leave, 1098 back in service. They give them the times. That's for their report. They have blanks in their reports. They got to fill in what time you got the call, what time you arrived, what time did you leave, file number, and it all gets filed away. If there's no suspects and stuff like there isn't, there's about 1 million suspects in this case, but there's no active suspect that didn't get stopped leaving the scene or whatever. It's probably not going to the detective's desk, and this probably didn't go to the detective's desk anyway, but it's public record. But that's why I was saying earlier, I put you on the spot about talking about this, but I could have done it another way, but guess what? It's public record. I mean, you made the report. And so whoever did it can go fuck themselves. You're stupid. You're stupid because you can't get those bullets back. And she had her babies in the house. If you
say this, Woody, but it should concern me, and I should be a lot more scared than I am. I'm more infuriated than anything. This is not the first time it happened. And what do you think you're doing? I haven't shut up yet.
Right.
What makes you think I'm gonna? You just keep on firing shots in front of my house. What's it gonna do?
Right.
I don't understand.
Right. Now and they're listening to us. You know that, right? They're listening to this episode. So
they're watching like a hawk.
Absolutely. And for them to take the time to go down there and do that, yeah. Who like them hacking all my shit and doing whatever. Okay, yeah, that's really gonna scare me the fuck off, right? All it did was make me infuriated. And like, now, bitches, not that I wasn't gonna get you anyway. Now I'm really gonna take my time and I'm gonna hammer your ass. The Morgan Baggett that I know, go ahead and fire shots at me and my kids, and while I'm sitting in the house and do that. And I'm really going to blow it up. So but afterwards you were like, I don't want to say anything about it because, I don't want whatever. You know what? Fuck them. I'm going to give them a big old double. Go fuck yourselves. All you did is stir the pot, and now the whole world knows.
People are already scared enough, and that's why I really didn't want to say anything.
That's true. That's true. You told me. You said you told me. You said I don't want other people to quit giving the information because they're worried about them coming doing this to them, and I get that. But the 99% of the people getting the information from are anonymous anyway, or will remain so until the appropriate time. And I get that. I think they're good people, other than the shitbirds who are trying to throw us off course. They're good people who truly care that Bradley and Austin got murdered. Yeah.
So you and I know this, and I really want to mention it, and I'm not going to say a name. What about the one dude who has contacted me? And he's really kind of fishing for information more than giving. But what do you think the other key players would think about him calling me?
If everybody that is involved that knew, either it's one of two ways. Either they have gotten together to really tighten up their stories and say, okay, well, you know what, let's do this. We can be anonymous, or we can reach out and fish for information, which I know that's going on. But either they've gotten together and got their story straight and said, this is what I'm going to say, you say this, blah, 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 or has so-and-so call in and see, anonymously, and see if they can get any more information out of them. But other than that, I'm going to tell you, and I said it before to you, I don't think I said it on the air, they're going to fucking flip on each other. And you're not dealing with rocket scientists. You're not dealing with rocket scientists. What you're dealing with is they've been getting away with because these cases were not properly worked, and that's a fact. But when it comes time for the nut cutting, when it comes time when the information, everything that's being brought together is presented to the proper authorities, and those motherfuckers show up. No, I shouldn't call them that. Those guys show up. Those professionals show up with badges, and they're not from Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office. The first one to squeal's getting a deal, and it's going to happen. It happens in every case. Is it unfortunate? Sure it is. You would like them all to go get the same amount of time, but and that's not going to happen. One of them is already planning to squeal, and I'm not saying anything about anything. It's just a matter of time. And so fire shots at our house if you want to. Morgan's not going to shut up. Woody Overton is not going to quit doing the podcast. I'm not going to quit digging. And if you are doing anything in this wrong in this case, whether you're killers or the powers that be or whatever, you better unfuck it. You better get off of it as quick as you can. And y'all, you think I'm making empty threats? I don't make empty threats. Get off of it as quick as you can. You better figure out how to unfuck yourself, because this is not my first rodeo. I already know what's going on, and the next round of bombs that I'm dropping or coming, they're coming where you lie about it in response to this, you doubly fucked. So, and I'm gonna leave it on the teaser end on that. But Morgan, the shit show, I mean, business owners, good people calling, and every day are like, holy shit, and heard this and heard that and da da da. And we know for a fact, and I'm not going to tip the hand because I don't want them to know. We know for a fact that certain things have been said, certain instructions have been given, and all that. Doesn't look good for you. And when what's done in darkness comes to the light, you're going to have to explain that shit too. Why are you so worried about little Morgan Baggett and Woody Overton, a podcaster? Because we're about to butt fuck you. Pardon my French, people. That's just the way that it is. And I didn't do it. Bradley was your ex-husband and the father of your son. That I didn't have a dog in this fight. I took it up Bradley's case, and holy shit, more.
I tried to tell you I did it. You can't tell me I didn't.
No, yeah, and you did. You tried to warn me. It's so much more, and I'm like, I don't want to hear about all that right now, because through investigation, if I got to it, which I did, on Austin's part, that and now it's at least two, and I know that and it just gets just piles on every day, and the people. Guess what? Here's a real. I was going to talk about Miss Ruth Holt and them today, and I actually talked to some family members today, Morgan, since I had texted you and stuff. And that's a case, y'all. This lady was 86 years old, and her daughter is in her 60s, and they were murdered inside the home. And I want to talk about that next week, just even to mention it briefly. But if you have any personal information that I don't want to hear about suspects. I'm not trying to solve the crime for Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office. I want to hear what kind of person Miss Ruth was. I want to hear what kind of person her daughter was. Because I'm going to tell you what I heard today directly from a family member, and I'll say the detective's name. Detective Burrell told them that 86-year-old lady was in the meth life.
Yeah. They spread lies
what
like
the
that.
Fuck? She was a role player at Fort Polk for the last 8 years, where they trained the soldiers, and she would go act like civilian, whatever type of scenario. 86. Her husband was double retired from law enforcement from Shreveport. But you had to tell the family members that she's a dopehead. That's why whether whether you're implicated in because you had people in her lives that were dopeheads, but it doesn't matter. That's not an excuse for murder, even if she was a dopehead, which my entire 30 years, I've never met an 86-year-old dopehead. They don't live to be that old. But it doesn't make them right for it to be murder. But I don't want to get off on that too much, because I got a lot of shit to say about that next week. But I do want to ask the listeners out there, message me personal details. If you know what her favorite food was, or you would know whatever she liked to sing and whatever. Just I want to put a human face to them, because they ain't got it. There's like 3 fucking news articles since they've been murdered, and this was 8 months ago, and most of them are right when it came out, and the last one was back in April, and clearly states that this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard of. They're clearly asking for help in this unsolved homicides. By the way, 86-year-old gets murdered in the state of Louisiana. That's a death penalty case. Anybody over 82, you could be tried for the death penalty. If it was just one person, this is 2, and has aggravated circumstances, the home invasion, whatever it may be. This is a death penalty case, and you only got 3 stories. But in the story, the last one, the most recent one that I was reading today, it's Sam Kraft says, "We do not believe there is an ongoing danger to the public."
How do you know that, sir?
What the fuck? You guys, I was thinking cop brain, maybe they got the suspect in jail already or something. But why would you even say that? Wait. I don't care what we hear. We're not here to speculate about that, but we can talk about that next week. What I'm saying is this: why would you, unless the reporters hit you up? It's been 6 months, and you hadn't said a peep about it, and you go on about, no, we're offering a reward, and we need information, and da. But there's no threat to the public. Why even say that?
That is his generic statement. No matter what happens here, that is what they say in every single case.
My mom was almost 84, and you know what? Fuck that. I'm not, no more shade. I don't have to throw shade. These dudes, and it's exactly what I've been saying since in the beginning. I thought it was incompetence, and now I can't get off other thoughts. These people are making themselves look so fucking bad, and it is what it is. So
I want to talk about one more thing, and this may be so irrelevant to you. Comment section on their social media page. I looked at it today. We've got 64 parishes in Louisiana.
60.
I looked at half of them.
Yeah.
I looked at half of them. All of the parishes' social media pages, you can comment. I didn't make it through all 60 something of them, but you can comment on the half of them that I looked at. But guess whose social media you cannot comment on? Guess when they turned that off? Right after I started TikTok, they turned the entire comment section off.
Yep. And I saw that, and I've seen posts about that and everything also. But you know what? I'm pretty sure it's because they're getting the shit smoked out of them. And it is what it is. You put yourself in the public eye, just like me being in a podcast or people leaving bad reviews or whatever, a 1 star. I'm like, oh well, I asked for it. I'm doing this. You got to be a little bit thicker skin than that. But real quick, you promised me next time you're going to do what?
Call 911 immediately.
Not only just for gunshots. You hear a bump in the night. This is to anybody out there that you hear a bump in the night. Nope, not scared. You're not scared. You're aware. You're a little scared means you can't do anything. Scared means you freeze the fuck up and you're laying there to die. You are not scared. I'm telling y'all out there, she's not scared. She may be a little bit afraid of the unknown, but that afraid makes her sharp. And I know you have countermeasures in place and everything else, but go ahead.
The entire Fort Polk shook today, and they had detonated a bomb out in the training area. My phone rang seconds later. It was my baby sister, and she said, my door just shook.
There you go. And that means she's aware.
And yeah, I mean, I said, okay. I said, get your weapon and set up on your bed. And then it clicked. I said, everybody's doors just shook because everybody in my whole office was like, oh my gosh, you would think we would be used to that by now. Right. But yes, we are so aware. Every tiny little thing that happens, bam, we're ready. The shooting before this last shots fired, my neighbor pulled up in my yard, and I'm telling you, on 2 wheels, and reached over in his passenger seat and pulled out the most ridiculous looking gun I've ever seen in my life, yelling at us, are y'all okay? Are y'all okay?
Right.
And when I tell you I've got people watching out for us, everybody has their eye on this hill.
Y'all, I had just told Morgan and her mama the night before. I said, I feel like Morgan is safer than she's ever been in the entire history of her life because you have so much focus on you now. And then the next night they pop off rounds. Okay. And it's happened before. We're not going to go into that. But we're just talking about this time, and we're letting them know, okay, hey, yeah, motherfuckers, she had to call the cops, and the neighbors came out of their houses. It's like assholes that in their fast cars that burn rubber, like, ooh, squeal the tires, like, ooh, motherfucker, I'm impressed, right? Ooh, you got a fast car. And exactly, but I'm being facetious. But you can shoot your guns, do whatever. You're a fucking idiot. It's by the grace of God she didn't call 911, and there didn't just happen to be somebody down the road that got your ass. But secondly, it's by the grace of God you didn't kill somebody. But in the future, you call 911, let them respond, let them secure the scene, and you can go out there and say whatever you want to. But I would urge you, people, unless the cop's being a dick to you, if they're being a professional in the beginning, don't be a dick to them. They might, I didn't say you were being a dick, but you were a bit of a bitch. I'm sorry, but you were. No.
That was a good guy.
He was. And it doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. You had a right. You've been living this for so long. Absolutely. And look, that that's not the first. He's heard a lot worse than what you gave him. All right. And all cops out there have. And that's, look, when you respond to 911 calls, you're not dealing with people on their best day. The 99.9% of them are going to curse you or say something, whatever. But anyway, I'm glad you're safe. This went way out of pocket, which is fine. Told it raw and unscripted is how I like it.
Two separate episodes.
I think we will, and we need to talk again. But when we get off of here, I briefly, because I'm really, really late, y'all. This is this not been a week from hell. It's just been a week. I got to get this to editing, but I also need to tell you what's coming next week so you can be prepared. All right.
Thank you, Woody.
All right, hold on one second. Let me do my closing and stay on the phone. All right, everybody. Please continue calling your tips, 313-RRC-TIP. For the people that don't understand how investigations work, guess when I'm going to close this investigation? I'm going to close it when it's time, and not a second before and not a second later. So but keep calling in your tips. No, and look, I know I don't get to respond to everybody. But some people it doesn't matter if I don't respond to you and call it in again or send it in again and I get back to you. I got some people I have way more knowledge that you don't have any knowledge about, Morgan, that and that are in Vernon Parish that are helping me, and I call them. And let me say this too. Morgan and I do not collaborate on 95% of what I'm doing. Correct, Morgan? And I know that drives you crazy, and Morgan will get some information and she'll send to me. I'm like, I already have that, but but you never know if I didn't have it. You send me a lot of shit that I don't have too, but so obviously, just like me, I have haters out there, right? Morgan's got some haters out there, and people message me and be like, I don't want Morgan Baggett to know this, but da 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 da. And I take it for what it's worth and follow and what have you. I don't hate you, but my point being is continue to call in your tips, and if you don't want me to tell Morgan, I won't tell Morgan shit. All I care about is getting justice for Bradley and justice for Austin. All right, and to their families, God bless them. I promise you, I'm gonna stand by what I said before, and I want to. And you know who I am. You know who I'm talking to. You, I know you're listening. I'm going to, and we'll get to sit together, and I get to put the human face on me. But I'm just not there yet. But as soon as I get there, that's the first thing that I'm doing. All right. And I love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank you for liking, tuning in, and sharing, and all that good podcast shit I'm supposed to say. I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?